Okay, so this video we're going to look at our CDR report. And so we're going to look at how well we did on different areas and how poorly we did in different areas. So overall, you can see on the right side here, our total score we got was 83 out of 100, which is really good. Our quality we got 9 out of 10 for intro, background, motivation, strategy, big picture, 9 out of 10. So these two are pretty good. Regarding technical details in terms of like effectiveness of communicating technical topics, communicating your model, your assumptions. We got 10 out of 12.5, which is again pretty good. For sufficient discussion of results or conclusion, 11.25 out of 12.5, which is also good. For level of detail, we only got 10.5 out of 15, so that was definitely something we could have improved on. And this will become more apparent as we look at our comments from our professor later on in this video. We also got 12 out of 15 for correctness and completeness of calculations. And for project management, overall we did pretty well. 9 out of 10 on the budget, 10 out of 10 on schedule. And then completeness of design, this is also kind of lacking, 2.5 out of 5. Okay, so we list our acronyms after the title page. We have our executive summary, and then acknowledgements, table of contents, introduction. Let's see, so the first comment we have is page 12. So keep scrolling. So competition overview. This is fine. Describe what we're doing. System engineering. This was pretty good. This had already been ironed out way before this paper. So we get to page 11 here. So we had a question. So also all the tuning for the equipment should be done before the drone. Yeah, so this is a weird sentence. It doesn't make any sense. So that's why it's like, I don't get it. That's why there's a question mark here. So we also got another comment here. Hopefully you will physically balance the plane, not calculate. So here we're looking at our pre-flight checklist. Ideally, we're going to go to the field and you're going to check your CG, not just calculating it, but also doing the in-person weight measurements as well. That's what we mean by physically balance here. Okay, on the next page, we have a comment. Is there a heavy glove or something the thrower can wear to make it safer for their hand? So for this, we would have a person, they would hold the airplane, the drone, and they would throw it to launch it. And we turn on motors at the same time. And so there's a concern with safety here. So we're talking about some things like wearing goggles. We're gonna grab the drone with two hands, support the bottom of the fuselage. We don't actually mention anything like wearing gloves or safety glasses. I think we'll see safety glasses a little bit later. On the next page, we have another comment here. This one is takes longer to go through the waypoints than to search. So I don't know if this is a typo, but I think the search area pattern was like a certain size, might have been either underestimated or the autonomous flight task they gave us a really large area to be flying in from waypoint to waypoint to waypoint. So the entire path might have been actually longer. So this might have been not an accurate estimation on our part. For the next page here, we've got highlights here. The GCS, the ground control station, shall display of the no-fly zone. Yeah, so this is another poorly written part of our sentence here. So I think we should have said the ground control station shall display the no-fly zone, aircraft position, etc. That's what we should have said here. Okay, so let's see. The next pages, we seem okay. We get down to here. So this brings up a good point. So if you end up flying on a windy day, any downwind legs of your search pattern will have higher ground speeds. Make sure you account for that and how often you take pictures. So the ground speed and airspeed, they're not the same if you're on a perfectly still day. So what happens here is before we go to the flight path selection, we have two assumptions here. There's a search air size and then there's a constant flight speed. So the airplane will be at cruise speed or some constant speed while it's flying. And then let's see here. So there's a specific search area boundary. It's not provided until you get to the competition. And then after that, then you can estimate how big the area you need to go do your waypoints to do the search area pattern. So if we said that the 2016 search area is about the same as the one 2 years ago in 2014, 4 million square feet, and then let's see, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but the main part here is this constant flight speed. So depending on the winds, that could be very good or very bad. So I don't think we really calculate the airspeed versus ground speed thing in this paragraph here, but something important. So if you're flying and there's no wind, your ground speed is if the plane's on the ground, like you're driving a car. That speed is exactly the same as if you're in the air. When the wind's blowing head on, you're not going to be at the same speed. You're going to be flying slower. That's why it's important to look at what this constant flight speed means here. Okay. The next thing we were asked about, let's see, is on this page. So how will you determine the location of the target? As I mentioned in the presentation, there's compounding errors here. Many of them are angular, which is dangerous. Okay, so there's a lot of things that kind of went wrong in the presentation when we presented how we're going to determine where the pictures are at. So we're not going to repeat any of those things here per se, but the main thing is we should have maybe drew a flow chart or something else instead of having this monster paragraph. And I think in hindsight, I personally would have maybe fleshed this out a little bit cleaner. I think we should have not just had a flow chart, but kind of look at each block in that flow chart and then look at the calculations involved in each of those blocks and do it really methodically and slowly and be a lot more thorough on that area. And then we would then find like, well, we have some problems in this step. And if there's a problem in this step, that'll transfer to this next block and so on and so forth. And so if there's a problem far upstream and that problem and the error just keeps going downstream, then the errors just accumulate and compound, as we said here. So that's something that we could have looked at carefully if we had a better diagram and explanation on how we're going to determine location of the targets. Okay, so the next one we have is this is a spelling error, missing an I in image processing. Let's see the next one. So I think the rest for a while seems okay. We explain a lot about our testing, the different subsystems. So I'm going to skip forward to that one. Okay, so page 44. It's not sufficient answer to previous question, how all these pieces work. What's the process time, the accuracy? Yeah, so again, if we had a flow chart, we could see all the different steps from start to finish and all the different kinds of computations we need to do in all those steps. Make it really explicit and trace it back to this step and so on and so forth. That would have helped a lot. There's way too much text and it's kind of hand wavy in some sense. Okay, so jump down to here, page 52. So agree with this decision regarding doing custom built drone has advantages for the competition, but curious to know what kind of improvements you can have in performance if you have a custom built drone. Like how much better is it going to be? If you have a custom built drone, do you only get 5% better than your current commercial off-the-shelf drone? And then how many years in the future should you consider creating a custom built drone? If you only get, let's say, a 30% improvement in performance in some custom built drone, it might be beneficial for the next team in the future to think about. That's why a professor pushed us to do the flight physics in the first place. It won't be wasted time if you can inform this decision for the future team and so on and so forth. The reason you want to do this is to look at any modifications you can do to the Penguin. That's our fixed wing drone that we selected to fly to make it better to fit your needs. So we kind of explained, right, that our budget was only $700. We had to buy something that was cheap and something that was going to work. And so therefore it was the Penguin. And it gave us some learning experiences. But we should have fleshed out more of, hey, if we do this custom built drone, what are the steps you need to do? What are the physics involved in that? How do we improve either the structural integrity, how fast it can go, how much more batteries we need, what kind of propellers do we want, motors we want, How much payload capacity can we increase by? Those are all the kinds of things that we should have been thinking about as we wrote this paragraph. This is kind of too broad and saying like it has the advantage of being designed specifically for this competition. But yes, you need more time and money, but we need to give some more concrete examples of what that specifically means instead of just having something just really high level and generic. Let's see, the next one we got questions on is page 57. So let's see. So oops. Yeah, so here. Okay, so if experience. Oh, okay, I did that one. Okay, so I assume you have flown without the canopy at this point. Oh, I sorry, I skipped this one, guys. Okay. So on this left figure, there's this clear canopy thing. You can put a camera here so you can look outside. So it's like a cockpit view. Or you can remove that plastic canopy and then just put your electronics underneath this little part right here. So our professor assumed you've flown without the canopy, which is great. So that's the one on the right. Otherwise, it's possible canopy could create a small amount of lift and contribute to the balance. You can fly without it, of course, since your margin of error on CG placement is smaller. Suspect the canopy is primarily to project intended for facing camera. Yep, that's what we just said. And as our professor's been reading, was thinking about someone needs to develop crash-worthy enclosures for all the expensive electronics. Yeah, that would be really important. That's something that we haven't done, and I don't think we looked at that closely. So it's important to say that sort of do like a risk analysis in terms of like if you nosedive and you crash, land really hard, all expensive electronics right here, how much does that cost? Can you repair anything? Can you reuse anything? Those kind of questions. Because there's a big battery in the front here, so that's also weighs a lot and it could smash something else, and it's going to be pretty heavy and it would cause a lot of damage. So that's something important to like, think about. Let's see, on the next page is, okay, this one, not actually sure this is a true statement. Yeah, we said if experienced pilots flew our Penguin, the performance of the Penguin would be more stable, which would be crucial in determining performance. So we're sort of kind of saying we're not good pilots. We can't fly the Penguin because we're not that good. We're just students. We need someone who is a pro or an expert to fly, and then we think that we can determine if the Penguin is actually good of a drone or not. Well, in reality, um, our professor's like, I don't know, the plane's kind of small. The accelerometers on board are hard to work with. And because it's such a small plane, it's kind of twitchy, or it'll kind of fluctuate and move around a lot. It doesn't really matter who's actually flying the plane, which is 100% correct. But we kind of wanted to like say it's not really our fault, but it is. Yeah. We have some graphs here. This is surprising. So this diagram, let me zoom in first. So I think the thing that's surprising here is that the CG is like right below the propeller, which seems way too far back. I think the CG should be like closer to the nose. So I think that's why this is really surprising. This aircraft right now, according to this picture, is tail heavy, which is not good. You want it to be nose heavy. It's more stable in terms of the pitch. Okay, let's see. Consolidate these tables. Wants to see estimated cost and actual cost in one place, side by side. So table A2, this is how much things cost in real life, the actual cost, and then this is the estimated cost. So it's nice to have these two columns, the total item cost here, and then this total item cost side by side. Then you can do some comparison, see like how accurate are we in our estimates for things to have costed. So say like the Penguin here, we bought two of these kits. It cost us $394, and then we estimated it only costs 127.98. So we underestimated by a little bit there. Okay, and I think, yep, that's all the comments we had. Okay, so guys, hopefully you learned from all the mistakes that we made it on our CR report. Most of them, again, were technical details, level of detail, completeness of design, those types of things. But overall, this is a pretty good, well-written report, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.